My name is Gail Agrawal, and I am delighted to welcome you to the 2017 graduation ceremony for the Iowa College of Law. In this commencement exercise, we will graduate our first students earning the Master in the Studies of Law, as well as our students earning the LLM and the Juris Doctorate. For today's program, I am joined on the platform by Regent Nancy Dunkel from the State of Iowa Board of Regents. Today's commencement speaker, the Honorable Michael Malloy, Iowa Law Class of 1974. Dr. Daniel Reed, Vice President for Research and Economic Development for the University of Iowa, who has the most important assignment of the entire day, conferring the degrees that the members of this class have earned with so much effort. And of course, by the extraordinary faculty of the Iowa College of Law. Well, this is a day to celebrate the accomplishment of our students. This commencement exercise is also of special significance to the faculty. Well, you guys should be sitting down by now. I can't actually see you because the lights are in my eyes. You only rise when they're walking in, then you get to sit down. All right, so back to my speech. Special significance to the faculty. Professor Angela Unwachi-Willig joins us for her final commencement as a member of our faculty. She has been a wonderful colleague and a great inspiration to us and to her students. We were very sad to lose her to the University of California at Berkeley, but we wish her all the best in her next professional adventure. And also, Professor and Senior Associate Dean Erik Anderson, who also joins us for his final commencement as a member of our full-time faculty. When Professor Anderson retires this summer, he will have served as a member of our faculty for 32 years, 14 of them as the law school's associate dean, spanning the tenure of 3 law school deans. And as the third in that line, I can say unequivocally, we could not have done it without him. So on behalf of all of us who have had the great privilege of being your colleagues and your students, to Professor Unwachi-Willig and Dean Anderson, I offer a sincere thank you and our best wishes. On behalf of the College of Law, I also extend a special welcome and hearty congratulations to our most honored guests, the spouses and partners, parents and grandparents, children, and all the family and friends of today's graduates. I thank you for supporting these students through the abject terror about that first set of law school exams, for comforting and encouraging them when things didn't go exactly the way they had hoped, and for cheering with us at their truly extraordinary achievements from orientation to graduation. I know that without your unwavering support, they wouldn't be here today, so well done. Graduates, join me in giving a hand to your family and friends. Graduation Day is a time of joy, a time to celebrate and applaud the members of the class in this last few fleeting moments that they will spend as Iowa Law students. For many of the graduates here today, this will be their last commencement exercise, and I suspect that the parents and the grandparents in the audience can't help thinking back to that very first cap and gown at the kindergarten graduation, and at all the ones that have followed. For the faculty and for me, commencement is also a bittersweet time. Graduation day always causes me to think back to the day I welcomed most of you as 1Ls, and to reflect on all you have accomplished since then. When you look back to those first days, the time you spend with us is so short. Although I suppose it did not feel that way to you when we loaded you into yellow school buses for your service project at Coralville Reservoir, or when you were taking that first exam given to you by Professor Hughes or Professor Jones at the end of a packed and exhausting orientation week. We were just trying to get you ready for the rigors of what lay ahead. So let's assume, arguendo, that you attended law school every weekday and no weekends or holidays for the usual 6 semesters. I realize that for individual members of the class, that assumption could be under or over-inclusive of your actual effort. But for today, just humor me. On the facts as I have presented them, you would have spent 450 days in the Boyd Law Building. Now, I wish that I had kept a record of how much pizza you consumed over that period, because I suspect that would be one for the Guinness Book of World Records. You've come a long way in so short a time. In those early days, you learned a tort is not something you purchase in a bakery. And I hope that Professors Bohannon and Hovenkamp didn't forever ruin that tasty pastry for you. You discovered that some contracts are not worth the paper they had written on, and that you were seriously misguided if you thought a promise that wasn't in writing didn't count. And if someday in your professional future you need to claim possession of a fox, that first case in property law, Pearson v. Post, taught you the life-changing lesson that you will have to catch it, not just chase it. In that first semester, you survived, for better, but mostly for worse, the first really scary meeting with your LAWR professor, who carefully considered the evidence presented by your first legal memorandum and explained to you in painstaking detail why your legal writing required significant improvement. And improve it has. Iowa isn't called the writing school without just cause. Before long, the first 100 days were over. That first set of final exams was behind you, and you breathed a collective sigh of relief. I heard there was also a celebration, but I note that the faculty and I were not invited. Soon, your teachers were picking up the pace of their expectations of you. We were well aware that as bona fide members of the internet generation, you could program your favorite devices and find your way to any courthouse in the world without any further instruction from us. But in that crucial second semester, Professor Stella Elias's civil procedure students learned how to haul someone else into the courthouse. Some of you proved highly creative at service of process. And you know who you are: Logan Krause, Casey Kidwell, and George Fitting. In Con Law 1, you managed to stay awake during the study of the Dormant Commerce Clause, thanks to the highly skilled professors who worked their magic to ensure that you did not become dormant yourselves. The late Justice Antonin Scalia often said that his first-year law professors reorganized his brain. And by the end of the first year, that mission, seemingly impossible, had been accomplished for each of you as well. And if you inflicted some collateral damage on your families and your friends as you were learning to think and argue like a lawyer, well, I hope each of them will accept my sincere apology today. Law school is proof positive of the old adage, no pain, no gain. It seemed to me that in the blink of an eye, you were planning another 100 days celebration. This time, it was 100 days before the bar examination. And in case I need to remind you today, those days are counting down. Once again, you forgot to invite the faculty and me to the party. Each class has a defining trait, and for the class of 2017, the word that comes to my mind is groundbreaking. You were the first law school class to graduate in this marvelous space, the new Hancher, a stunningly beautiful physical testament to the power of perseverance in the face of hardship. And what could be more fitting for a law school graduation than that? You are the class that broke ground for the new student commons in the Boyd Law Building, enduring countless jackhammers and circular saws at the start of your third year of law school. With grace and good spirit and not too much complaining to Dean Crane, you patiently persevered through this unanticipated construction to become the first class to lay claim to that beautiful new space. You were the first law school class to send not one, but 2 trial teams to the national trial competition. 2 of you, Caleb Copley and Hannah Graber, made the national trial team finals 2 years in a row. With her 2L partner, Brianna Chamberlain took top honors in the regional patent law competition in Chicago and headed to DC for the national competition for the 2nd time. Megan Horst and Aaron Myers, field placements took them to Kosovo, where they could use their knowledge of American law to work on behalf of an emerging democracy. And at a time when accurate information was truly needed, Lauren Carini, Jesse Donnells, Caitlin McCullough, Devin Rittler, and Emily Summers shared their immigration law expertise with the Iowa City community. You did us proud. Over the course of 3 years, the members of this class provided an extraordinary 9,632 hours of pro bono and community service. And that number doesn't even include Balsa's street law project, the important work clinic students did on behalf of indigent individuals and vulnerable populations in Iowa with their teachers in the legal clinic. Members of this class work with professors, both of them, Elias, on behalf of immigrant communities in Iowa, and with Professor Gittler on behalf of Iowans with diminished capacity. The class of 2017 fully embraced the public service obligations of this learned profession. And perhaps most impressive of all, for 3 years, not one of you did a single negative thing that landed the Iowa College of Law on the pages of Above the Law. And for that high accomplishment, your faculty and I are truly grateful. In addition, you brought us Nicholas Schnell's intellect, Ben Gillig's leadership, Molly Bryant's commitment to public service, Andrew Stanley's musical talent, and the first 1L ever to serve as captain of the University of Iowa women's basketball team, the multi-talented Catherine Reynolds. Soon, I will have to say a reluctant goodbye to my fellow health law junkies, Matt Bergs, Ogie Kwan, Megan Lesueur, Alexa Wynn, Jocelyn Sachs, and George Zanatakis. And today, I want to ask one final time, Misha Gadiri, are you certain there's not another Gadiri girl to follow you and big sister Sarah to the Boyd Law Building? If not, Lindsay Danielson and Nina Scheller's babies, who attended law school classes before they were born might think about taking the LSAT in 2040. After all this class has accomplished, under the careful tutelage of your dedicated teachers, I would like to say that you have some reluctance to leave us. But some of you might know that I began my academic career as a professional responsibility teacher. And I know that so obvious a lie in front of so many highly credible witnesses would reflect adversely on my character and fitness as a lawyer. And what kind of example would that set? Therefore, the official record of this final law school proceeding will have to reflect that you are much more enthusiastic about leaving us than we are about seeing you go. The late Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said, "The law is the calling of thinkers, and each of you is now called to the law." You came to us from 32 states, the District of Columbia, 6 foreign countries, from 76 undergraduate schools with 36 different undergraduate majors and 12 graduate degrees. You joined us with experience in Army intelligence and the local police, as a dance choreographer, an opera singer, and a rare book dealer, bank tellers and baristas, camp counselors, custodians and clerks, managers and nannies. You leave us prepared for new professional opportunities in your life's next chapters. John Jorgensen and Evan Ron will head to Big Law in the Big Apple. Neil Conley, Evan Saunders, and Neva Wagner will head to the Windy City. Rebecca Wong and Derek Tron will go west to California. And Thomas Lane will heed a compelling call to public service, turning down Wall Street for Main Street in Greene County, Iowa. We are proud of each member of this class. Among you are immigrants and first-generation Americans, as well as second and third generation Hawkeyes. To all the Iowa lawyer parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, who entrusted your children to us so that they may follow in your footsteps in the law, you have paid us a high compliment, and we thank you. Others of you are like me, the first in your family to graduate from college and to go on to earn a graduate or doctoral level degree. I know firsthand that the time you have spent here has been life-changing, and I congratulate you on the groundbreaking steps that you take today as you walk across the stage to receive your hoods and master's cords. You are an extraordinary group. I was truly honored to welcome you to the Boyd Law Building, and along with your faculty, I feel very privileged to have spent these short years with you. Congratulations, and thank you. But now, it's time for me to relinquish the podium to one of your own. I invite Lindsay Danielson, elected speaker for the class of 2017, to the podium. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dean Agrawal. And happy graduation day, everybody. We made it, and it's very exciting. So first, I'd like to give a huge thanks to Renee and Dean Crane, Dean Agrawal, and everybody else who worked so hard to put together our graduation events. You went above and beyond to make today special for us, and you deserve your own round of applause. Now I'd like to give a special thanks to all of our friends and our family who are here with us today. Law school is hard, and I think we're probably pretty tough to deal with, but your support was our lifeline to the world outside of Boyd Law Building. You encouraged us, You were our cheerleaders, you were our friends, and you were our shoulders to cry on when we needed it, even if you didn't understand why we needed it. And we wouldn't be here without you, so thank you. Thank you to all of you. And since I'm thanking everyone right now, I guess there's no better time to thank our esteemed professors and faculty members. Without all of you, we might still be graduating from a law school, but we certainly wouldn't be graduating from the Iowa law as we know it now. And I thought long and hard about the best way to describe the various roles that all of you played in our lives over the last 3 years. And it's not easy. And it wasn't easy, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that you are all the academic equivalents of Army drill sergeants. And in other words, you're terrifying. And I really mean that in the best way possible. I was actually in the Army, and so I know this from firsthand experience. Paul Irwin is one of our fellow graduates, and he actually never experienced anything terrifying until he arrived to Iowa Law, and he thinks that all of you are much scarier than what he dealt with in the Navy. My dad and another graduate, Evan Stein, are both probably rolling their eyes right now at the fact that I'm even attempting to compare all of you to the maniacal Marine drill sergeants that they had to deal with. But I digress. It's true, there are many similarities between law professors and drill sergeants. Army and Marine drill sergeants are notoriously heartless and bloodthirsty and mean, but I don't think anybody here would actually use both of those words to describe you. I think that most would say you're just heartless, so you actually come out ahead. And also, drill sergeants typically respond to the ridiculous and dumb things that privates do by screaming until they burst blood vessels in their heads. And I don't remember a time that any of you screamed until you burst a blood vessel in your head, or even really screamed at us, although I'm sure you wanted to. Instead, you did worse, and you gave us these blank death stares when we couldn't answer a question because we didn't even know what case we were talking about. And I think the latter is far, far more horrifying. Brains are scarier and far more powerful than brawn. So just like drill sergeants do what they have to do to make sure their young privates don't accidentally blow themselves up in combat, all of you did what you had to do to make sure that we don't blow ourselves up when we start work in August. At least I hope you did. So 3 years ago, we showed up to Iowa Law, and we were a bunch of young and impressionable, idealistic, and dumb privates, basically. And all of you made us your projects. And now we're old, and we're still dumb. I'm just kidding. None of you are dumb. You're old, you're older, but you're not dumb. But since we started law school almost 3 years ago, you all challenged us, and you forced us to think when we didn't want to, and you pushed us out of our comfort zones. And there were many, many times that we could not stand it, and we hated it. But that's what you had to do to teach us how to be lawyers, and how to think like lawyers, and how to deal with lawyers. And so I think on behalf of our entire class, we thank you for it, for all of it, and I truly hope that we make you proud. And finally, my friends and my classmates and colleagues and my future bosses probably, congratulations. When Dean Crane told me that I was going to be today's speaker, I completely freaked out, but that was not completely out of the ordinary for me. But I had no idea how to start writing a speech directed towards a group of people whose collective intelligence intimidated me on the first day of law school, and whose collective intelligence intimidated me Friday when we finished our exams. Excuse me. But you intimidated me because all of you are brilliant. And I still marvel at your ability to answer questions correctly in class when you were called on, and to understand, or at least pretend to understand, the material well enough to ask questions too. It's beyond me how you did that. And like I said, I'm sort of neurotic, and I was a complete insane basket case through all of law school, but my neuroses were especially evident right before our first round of exams during our 1L year, and I was completely convinced that I was going to fail every single class and be the first student in the history of Iowa law to legitimately flunk out of law school. And so the night before our first exam, which I think was property, my husband told me not to worry, and he said, "Lindsay, you're so smart, and you will definitely be in the top whatever percent of the class you need to be in to get whatever job you want after graduation." And after we got our grades back, his message changed slightly, but ever the optimist, he still encouraged me to not worry, but this time he just said, "Lindsay, you're smart, and you will definitely graduate in the top 100% of your graduating class." And he was right, and so here we are, my friends, top 1% or top 100%. At the end of the ceremony, we will all be law school graduates. And it was a long road for us to get here. I did some math and figured out that we were each assigned somewhere in the ballpark of 30,000 pages of reading. And that's only the reading we had to do for class, which comes out to be a stack of paper that's that reaches the rim on a basketball goal. And I don't know how much of that you actually read. It's between you and your transcript, and it doesn't matter. But the three of you that read every single page are my heroes, and I hope to God I am never your opposing counsel. But lest you think I'm throwing shade to the 99% of you who slacked off at some point in law school, you too are my heroes because you are still here today, and you enjoyed your life along the way. And so, really quickly, I do want to give a quick shout out to all of our friends and fellow graduates who are joining us from abroad. We have graduates representing China, Honduras, Iran, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Taiwan, and Turkey, and I really apologize if I missed one, but all of you are incredible. Law school is hard. I mean, it's hard for anyone, but I can't imagine how difficult it is to learn a completely new legal system in a foreign language, in a foreign country, in a foreign culture, and doing it by being still held to the same standards as the rest of us. You are courageous, and you are tenacious, and you all deserve a special congratulations. So as a class, you all performed over 9,600 hours of community service, which equals about 400 days of working for others. But the actual true congratulations goes to the 43 of you who performed 85% of those hours and are still kind enough to let the rest of us who dropped out of the Pro Bono Society ride your coattails. You definitely deserve the cords you're wearing right now, and your hard work brings credit to all of us. So, in addition to reading and volunteering, you edited thousands of footnotes, you wrote hundreds of briefs, you argued dozens of oral arguments, you represented clients, worked part-time jobs, looked for full-time jobs, found full-time jobs, started organizations, and supposedly threw great parties here and there. And you did all of that while figuring out whether it was actually the train company's fault that the scales fell on Ms. Paul's graph, or why Justice Scalia, rest in peace, thought the Obamacare opinion was a bunch of jiggery pokery, or how Donald Trump won the election in November. And most importantly, you did all of that without letting law school rob you of your character. And you stayed kind and friendly and helpful and generous and generally just amazing throughout the entire thing. But I know it wasn't easy, and I know that for a lot of us it was difficult to juggle school and life without losing sight of why we came to law school. I do hope that you've regained your clarity by now, but if you haven't, or if you never knew why you came to law school in the first place and still don't know, I've compiled a short list of things that have happened since we started law school, all of which were accomplished either by a lawyer or with the help of a lawyer. So first, and maybe the most important, Brangelina split up, and those lawyer-drafted divorce papers now serve as a beacon of hope to millions of Generation X women who now have a chance with the dreamboat Brad Pitt. Courtney Love did what no one else on earth was able to do, and she miraculously discovered the location of the missing Malaysian Airlines jet. This is true, you guys. And thanks to lawyers, she was able to do this from the comfort of her home rather than from the confines of her jail cell. Lawyers fought for men and women in same-sex partnerships until they achieved marriage equality. And one of Professor Graywall's tweets went viral-ish and catapulted Iowa law into the national spotlight for a few seconds. And 151 years ago, lawyers fought for the abolition of slavery, and now African-American Civil War hero Harriet Tubman is going to be on the front of the $20 bill. Lawyers drafted the contracts that secured the Iowa football team that beat Michigan in the stunning victory last fall. And lawyers drafted the documents that created the Cubs team that finally won the World Series. Some copyright attorney somewhere worked long and hard to make sure that you, or at least the 5 of you that this applies to, could read the new Harry Potter novel instead of doing your homework. And those lawyers that were involved in all of those things are absolutely no different from you. They too had to sit through a most epic student commencement address, but you all are actually better situated than many of them because right now you have Instagram and Snapchat and your super awesome customized hashtag Iowa Law Class of 2017. I think it's a Snapchat filter, but you have your special filter to entertain you through the ceremony, and Justice Kennedy didn't have that. So here in a few minutes, all of you will become part of the 1/2 of the 1% of the entire United States population that has the honor of calling themselves a lawyer. I can't offer you words of advice about how to succeed in your respective legal careers, but I can marvel at the success that you've achieved here. You all are truly incredible, and you should be proud of yourselves. I know that I'm incredibly proud and honored to be able to stand here with you today. Thank you, and congratulations.
All right. I don't want Judge Malloy to have to give you Lindsay's speech, so I need to find his place in the program. Thanks to Lindsay again. I am honored now to introduce the 2017 commencement speaker, the Honorable Michael J. Malloy, Senior Judge on the United States Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit and a member of the Iowa Law Class of 1974. Please join me in welcoming Judge Malloy.
Well, I was going to start by thanking the dean for inviting me to be a commencement speaker, but she didn't tell me I was following Lindsay. I'm unfortunately not nearly as eloquent nor as funny as she is. She did a wonderful job and is a great representative of this class. But I do want to thank Dean Agrawal, Associate Dean Hughes, and the faculty for inviting me to speak to the graduates this afternoon. This lets me tick one more item off my bucket list. I know my high school music teacher would never say I made the stage at Hancher, but by being a commencement speaker, I finally get to be up here, and if only in a different role. Let me first start by congratulating the new graduates, their family, friends, and the faculty who've been with them all these 3 years. This is a wonderful achievement which I know represents many years of hard work and sacrifice. I particularly want to congratulate and thank those who supported the graduates through the last 3 challenging years. The Dean and Lindsay have already spoken about this, but let me add my congratulations to the spouses, significant others, children, parents, and friends that have been there to encourage you, celebrate your triumphs, and be a shoulder to lean on and support when the times got difficult and the inevitable discouragement set in. The diploma that the graduates are about to receive represents a significant achievement and accomplishment for you, just as it does for the graduates who are about to become new lawyers. When one is asked to speak at a commencement exercise, it usually indicates you've had some years of experience. In my case, many years of experience, as represented by the graying and thinning hair under this cap. It's been 43 years since I've graduated from the University of Iowa College of Law. So looking back over those 43 years, I tried to decide what can I say to the graduates that would be hopefully somewhat meaningful, keeping in mind that no one appreciates a long commencement speech, and that what I have to say is probably not your foremost thought as you anticipate your diploma, the celebration and parties that are going to be following, the bar exam, and eventual employment. But here goes. What I'd like to talk about for a few minutes is your life outside the law office. I know you're all looking forward to putting your degree to work and becoming practicing lawyers, whether it is in government, private practice, military, or industry. You're probably thinking about the 2,000 plus hours some of you will be expected to bill, and the other challenges of becoming an effective attorney. Yet a big part of your life will be lived outside the law office, and that's the part I want to talk about. Work-life balance is somewhat of a cliche, but I can't emphasize enough how important it is to be involved in your community, spending time with family, and being engaged outside the law office. It will be of immense benefit both professionally, emotionally, and personally. So what do I mean by that? First, make time for your family. Many of you already know from your law school and undergraduate experience that a strong relationship with a spouse or significant other, parent, and family member can be invaluable in helping to keep you sane when the demands of law professors, employers, clients, those drill sergeants that Lindsay talked about, judges, and others in your professional life are coming at you from a dozen different directions. Home life can provide some calm from the storm of law practice that will go a long way towards easing the stress of the sometimes impossible demands of a practicing attorney. It can become very easy to let your life become consumed by billable hours, deadlines, and the daily grind of a legal practice. It is in those times that it is most important to step back and look at how your legal life impacts you and your family. Get involved in your community. I know the first thing you're going to say is, how am I going to have time to do that while working 50 or 60 or more hours per week? But I can't emphasize enough how taking time to get involved can benefit you immeasurably, both professionally and emotionally. When you do get involved, my recommendation is to do something you really enjoy, not things that necessarily you think you should be doing or expected of you. If you're active in sports, join a softball league, coach youth soccer, or do something else that you're passionate about. Be active in charities, United Way, the Heart Association, and other civic organizations that interest you. If you're religious, get involved in your church, synagogue, or mosque. But do things you are enthusiastic about and that you can make a sincere commitment to. When I say it'll help you professionally, I would start by indicating that at some point in your professional life, particularly those of you who are going into private practice, you'll probably be expected to develop a client base of your own. Doing good work in the law office can only go so far. Building a strong professional reputation is essential, but you also need to meet people and develop relationships and connections. As a young lawyer, You never know which fellow member of the library board or volleyball team might be the next Bill Gates, ready to launch a new company or start a new enterprise, and needs a bright young attorney to help him or her get off the ground. It is very difficult to thrive as a practicing attorney, particularly in private practice, without being actively engaged in your community. Another way it helps in making connections, it can help you advance your career. I doubt there is anyone on this stage who has not had someone who has helped them guide them on their career, help them advance to a new position, or be the person to open the door to a new job. Sometimes those connections can come from the most unlikely sources. I'd like to give you just one quick example from my career. I was nominated to be a United States District Court judge in the spring of 1992 by President George H.W. Bush, the first President Bush. That year was an election year, and President Bush was running for re-election. His opponent was Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas. Now, as you know, getting confirmed by the Senate during an election year can be a somewhat difficult proposition. Things weren't quite as toxic back in 1992 as they are now, but it was still a challenge. So during the summer months of 1992, I was anxiously awaiting word as to whether I would get a confirmation hearing and vote, which thankfully I eventually did in August of that year. But during the summer, I was at a meeting at a church group of a church group that my wife and I were then participating in. At the end of the meeting, as we were getting ready to leave, one of the members of the group, who I had no idea had any involvement in politics, came up to me and asked about my nomination to be a district judge and the process I had to go through. I mentioned to her that I was waiting to get a confirmation hearing and hoped to be confirmed before the election and the then likely victory of Governor Clinton. She then asked me if Senator Biden had anything to do with the process. I told her that he was only the most important person in the confirmation process at that point. Senator Biden was then the longtime chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I told her that if Senator Biden wanted me to get a hearing, I'd get a hearing, and if Senator Biden didn't want me to get a hearing, I wouldn't. She then went on to tell me that she had been the Lynn County chair of the Biden for President campaign, and that since he was still interested in running again at some point, was in very regular contact with him, which as an aside shows that things really haven't changed in 25 years. She went on to say she would be happy to call Joe and put in a good word for me. And as I said, I got a hearing. So as I say, support for your career can come from the most unlikely sources. But if you're not in the game, if you're not participating and you're not involved, you'll never get a chance to meet the people along the way who can help advance you professionally. I'd also encourage you to get involved politically. Whatever else you might say about President Trump, Secretary Clinton, Vice President Biden, Bernie Sanders, and many of the other presidential candidates, they all have one common denominator. They're all people of my generation, 65 plus, with many well into their 70s. We need young people with your enthusiasm, your drive and passion to become the new leaders of our communities, state, and nation. I'm very proud of many of my former law clerks who have made public service a major part of their legal career. One example is Rob Hogue, a good friend of this law school. He's now a minority leader of the Iowa Senate and lives his commitment to make Iowa a better place to live, and in particular, to make our air more clear, our air more pure, and our water cleaner for this and future generations. Another is Brian Fagan, a former member of the Cedar Rapids City Council and acting mayor. These and countless other lawyers, like Iowa law grad Matt Hayek, who was longtime mayor of Iowa City, are working to improve our communities and lives through their involvement in civic life. You as lawyers bring a unique perspective to the governmental process. You know the purpose and history of our laws in a way that is unique within the political environment. But we could certainly use a lot more legal talent in the Iowa legislature and Congress as we debate these difficult issues. We may not want a legislature of all lawyers, but I think we could use a few more to help us face the challenges that we have ahead of us. Political involvement also has another advantage beyond contributing to our communities. Circling back to my prior comment about client development and people who can advance your career, often some of the most important people and community leaders are involved in the political arena and can be invaluable in helping you to make connections and to advance. Many leaders in business and industry, education, labor, and community leaders are very involved in politics. It's a great opportunity for you to get to know those people and hopefully make them a client someday. People you meet through political involvement can also be invaluable in helping to advance your career, particularly if you're interested in becoming a judge someday. There's an old adage that the best way to become a federal judge is to have the foresight to make a future United States Senator your law school roommate. So look around and see which one of your classmates is going to be that U.S. Senator. Absent having had that good fortune, another good way is getting to know and support the senators and congresspeople who will be making recommendations for federal judgeships, U.S. attorney, and other federal positions, as well as the future governors who will be making appointments to the state court bench. And I don't mean to imply that appointments are based on cronyism, but rather getting to know the appointing officials and they getting to know you lets them know your character, your abilities, and the type of person that you are. Getting to know these individuals makes them much more comfortable in making appointments to important government positions. And let me conclude with one additional observation about life outside the law office that I've made during my legal career. Setting priorities between one's personal and professional life is not necessarily a constant throughout your career. As an example, in my life, I became a United States District Court judge about the same time as my two oldest daughters were entering high school. I had many opportunities for speaking engagements, conferences, and committee work. And while I recognize the value and importance of contributing to the legal profession, I also felt that that was the time in my life that whatever time I had left over after my day job, I should spend participating in my daughter's school activities. I knew that I had many years ahead of me after my daughter's high school years to do all the speaking and participation in other events I cared to do. For many of you who are single or newly married without children, this may be the time to put in the extra hours and pay down those student loans. But without belaboring the point, I just want to emphasize that in my experience, it's important to understand life changes, and you almost certainly have to adjust your priorities to accommodate both professional and family responsibilities as you progress through your career. So in conclusion, let me just again congratulate all the graduates, wish you the very best of luck in your professional careers, and encourage you to stay active and engaged in the communities. Thank you very much.
That is wise counsel for all of us. Thank you, Judge Malloy. Okay, we come now to the most important part of today's program, and I am going to welcome to the podium Dr. Daniel Reed, University of Iowa Vice President for Research and Economic Development, for the conferring of the degrees. Dr. Reed, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Law, I am proud to present these candidates who have completed all the requirements for the degrees of Juris Doctor, Masters of Law, and Master of Studies in Law as designated. Members of the class of 2017, please rise and remain standing.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents, State of Iowa, I hereby confer on each of you the degree of Master of Studies in Law, Juris Doctor, and Masters of Law as qualified and designated. Congratulations.
Well, now I am going to ask the graduates to come forward to be introduced by Professor John Mark Stensvag and to receive their master's cords or doctoral hoods from Professors Emily Hughes and Joseph Yockey. We're going to begin, I believe, with the students earning the Master's in the Studies of Law.
Tyler Christopher Ritter. Sophia Jean Schilling. Khaled Elgablan. Evelyn Sarah Anderson. Lauren C. Arndorfer. Meredith Ashley. Ryan Aubrey. Mayu Bao. Matthew Grant Barnd. Sarah Bartlett. Matthew Bergs. Megan Blandford. Caitlin Betcher. Missy Brewer. John Patrick Brown. Jeffrey William Brunel. Molly Bryant. Lauren Elizabeth Carini. Jeremy Carroll. Brianna Lee Chamberlain. Brian Reese Clark. Patrick Joseph Comprin Jr. Neil Connolly. Nathan Converse. Maura Elizabeth Cook. Arena Nicole Coombs. Caleb John Copley. Joshua Cole Coronado Moses. Matthew Kenneth Cuban. Lindsay Rush Danielson. Brianne Darcell Davis. Ryan Decker. Sarah Dicka. Jessica Marie Donalds. Madison Lee Ebert. Braden Fairclough. Travis Fallon. Michael Farley. Jeffrey Finley. George Whitfield Fitting. John Garvin. Dagmawi Gaitachau. Misha N. Gadiri. Benjamin Gillig. David Ginger. Hannah Graber. Julie Sivone Hagan. Sean Minuhan. Erik Hartman. Anne Elizabeth Hartnett. Elizabeth Heffernan. Kelly Marie Hammond. Ephraim T. Hintz. Good work. Claire Jewel Horan. Megan Elizabeth Horst. William Kenneth Hotchkiss. Jingwin Ho. Daisy Scotty Hubner. Joshua Ramsey Irwin. Paul Christopher Irwin. Roxanne Lizette Janacek. Aaron Jansen. John Carl Jorgensen. Michael Joseph Kaufman. James Austin Kennedy. Gage Kensler. Casey William Kidwell. Peter Klein. Logan S. Kraus. Ogie Collier Kwan. Alex Carl Kurth. Megan Ann Staley LeSueur. Yoon Lee. Christopher Garrett Lair. Ariel Marie Lipman. Sean Liu. Clinton M. Luth. Elaine Luthens. Caitlin Turner McCullough. Jonathan R. McDonald. Will McDonough. Chelsea McKimmey. Dylan McKinnon. Aaron Michael Myers. Daniel Mark Morgan. Mohammed Bahir Motavali Alamoti. Jonathan Andrew Munoz. Matthew Murphy. Joe Nearing. Alexa Trom Wynn. Lynn T. Wynn. Brian Gardner Page. Alice Chauhan Penn. Mitchell Plimmer. Evan Lassiter Ron. Alexandria Michelle Ransom. Will Reasoner. Tessa Register. Catherine Reedy. Catherine Cunningham Reynolds. Devin Colleen Rittler. Benjamin Winston Robertson. Sebastian Rouenet. Jocelyn Leah Sachs. Shiv Samtani. Claire Saskowski. Evan Paul Saunders. Nicholas Schnell. Grant Taylor. Joel Robert Thronson. Kimberly Diane Topol. Derek Joseph Tran. Kathleen Rose Tunink.
This way.
George Daniel Zanatakos. Neva Noel Wagner. Rebecca Wong. Theodore William Wegner. Kira Christina Wennerholm. Thomas S. Wisniewski. John Woodruff. Joy Yamato. Zhou Yu Chen. Wong Gok Kim. Musa Kurt. Jung-Ah Lee. Antonio Martinez.
The students just a minute to get back to their seats. right. Please join me in congratulating the class of 2017. Before we close, I am charged to add a few words of farewell to the newest alumni of the Iowa College of Law. Our 35th president, John F. Kennedy, observed, "Certain other societies may respect the rule of force. We respect the rule of law." You have been prepared to be guardians of the rule of law, to protect the promise inherent in the Iowa state motto, "Our liberties we prize, and our rights we will maintain." Justice Sandra Day O'Connor reminds us that as lawyers, we will be entrusted with work worth doing, and that, she tells her law clerks, is the definition of happiness. For those of you who will be called to the bar, today I charge you to use your law license wisely and always with integrity. I remind you that you were prepared for this noble calling, the practice of a learned art in the public interest, in a public law school. Farmers in their fields, the cashier at your local Hy-Vee, the people of Iowa contributed to the cost of your legal education. After the celebration is over, I ask you to think seriously about how you will pay it forward. The need is great, your options are many, and I know you will choose well. On this joyous day, my wish for each of you is that you fulfill Justice Holmes' vision to live greatly in the law. On behalf of your teachers, the staff, and the rising 3Ls who long to sit right where you are right now, I offer our affection, our admiration, and our congratulations. The 2017 commencement exercise is adjourned. After the recessional, please join us for a reception at the Boyd Law Building. Congratulations.